All right, so there's still a lot of confusion about the war between Israel and the United States versus Iran, and especially about how and why it ended. Now, if you follow the logic, if you follow the narrative that Donald Trump has been expressing, it almost seems kind of straightforward. So, Iran had been developing a nuclear weapon. Israel and the United States couldn't handle that, so they attacked Iran, first Israel and then the United States. But as I mentioned before, especially in this context, I consider Israel and the United States one entity posing as two different countries. But anyway, they attacked Iran. The United States bombed their nuclear facilities. Donald Trump said that they were completely annihilated. There was nothing left. And that was it. And Donald Trump said, okay, that was done. So now it's time for peace. And they suggested a ceasefire. And now, you know, the missile attacks have stopped. So effectively, we now have a ceasefire. Pretty straightforward, right? Except for a few things. So first of all, if Iran was in fact creating nuclear weapons, then it wasn't up to the United States or Israel to do anything about it like this. They had to go through higher authorities to do so. So what they did was highly illegal and was very much unprovoked. Right? Now, and then there's still a lot of confusion whether the nuclear facilities, especially the main one called Fordow, was in fact completely destroyed or not. Again, Donald Trump said it was completely annihilated. Then some information leaked from the intelligence community in the United States, suggesting that yes, it might have been damaged, but it only set back Iran several months in their nuclear activities. But then Donald Trump doubled down on his first statement, saying that it was completely destroyed and blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's still a lot of confusion about that. We don't know what is actually true. And even if everything was destroyed, even if all these facilities were destroyed, we still don't know if Iran managed to move their nuclear material, so their uranium and other stuff, elsewhere, you know, to other parts of Iran that the West doesn't know about. We don't know anything about that, right? So again, a lot of confusion about the destruction and about the whereabouts of these nuclear materials. We're gonna have to wait and see because, you know, frankly, we don't know. But I believe that the most important thing about all of this is that Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon at all. I mean, they've always said that they were enriching uranium, but only for energy purposes. And even the intelligence community in the United States itself had acknowledged that Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon. And even if they were, I mean, potentially they were still years away from achieving that. And still Donald Trump attacks Iran? You know why? Because this was never about Iran's nuclear program. I mean, if this was really about the fear of Iran creating a nuclear weapon, there was an agreement in place called the JCPOA that was specifically created to prevent Iran from creating a nuclear weapon. You know, Iran agreed to enrich uranium to no higher than, I believe it was 3.6% or something like that. And according to the IAEA, which is basically the UN nuclear watchdog, Iran was fully compliant, right? But then Donald Trump comes along in his first term in office as the president. He basically tears up the agreement, and then now he starts bombing Iran because, oh, they're creating a nuclear weapon? Are you kidding me? You know, so this is proof that this was never about Iran's nuclear program. This is about something else. This is about the absolute addiction of the United States to world dominance. You know, they're trying to reestablish the status of being the world's hegemon, being the only dominant force in the world. And they have a plan. They've had a plan for years in place now. part of that plan is what they're doing in the Middle East. They're trying to gain dominance in the Middle East. By the way, another part of the plan is what we've been seeing unfold in Ukraine. I mean, many people still think that the war in Ukraine is the result of Vladimir Putin being a narcissistic dictator who wants to reestablish the USSR and nonsense like that. No. This is all about the addiction of the United States to world dominance. That is what this war in Ukraine is all about. That is part of the plan. And what we're seeing in the Middle East is another part of the plan. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to neutralize Iran, just like they did with many other countries in the Middle East already. They're trying to neutralize Iran, and their method of choice, as they've been doing in many other countries across the world, as they've been doing in Ukraine in 2014, by the way, is regime change. So, meaning that they want to get rid of the sitting government and replace it with a puppet government, which, of course, is going to be much more sympathetic to American needs. That's what they're trying to do. Now, you may wonder, okay, if regime changing Iran is their goal, right? They haven't achieved their goal yet. So why would they stop the war? Well, first of all, I don't believe they stopped the war. They paused the war, right? And why did they do so? Well, to be honest, I'm not completely sure, but there is a theory that I think is very plausible, and that is that, Israel had been taking some very, very heavy hits to such a degree that Israel probably might not have lasted for much longer. And so, as the United States still needs Israel, they kind of had to pause this war. So they suggested a ceasefire. Now, you have to understand that ceasefires seem to be a tactical component of their warfare, right? So we've seen this, for example, in Ukraine. So we've seen the Minsk 1, Minsk 2, and now again they're trying to get Russia to agree to another ceasefire. Now they've always proven to use these ceasefires not to try to come to some kind of agreement to try to stop the conflict, but they've always used these ceasefires to regroup, to rearm, and then they go at it again. The same they did in Gaza. So supposedly they orchestrated a ceasefire in Gaza. What they did was they rearmed Israel, and Israel got right back to their genocide. So that's a tactic the United States has been using. So I fully expect that they will use this ceasefire to rearm Israel, to regroup, and at some point in the future, it may take weeks, it may take months, it may even take some years, but they will find something that they will pin on Iran. They will blame Iran for something, and they will use that to reignite the fighting. That's what I expect, and they will keep on doing that until they've achieved their goal, which is regime change. Once they've done that, they will move on to China. Now, let's hope for Iran and China, and frankly the rest of the world, that they're not going to be successful in doing that.